Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I've got something special for you. We're going to be opening up a World of Tanks time capsule to see one of the most overpowered vehicles of all time. So crazy overpowered that it was removed, or I guess kind of changed to a whole different role. It is of course the T18, a tier 2 American tank destroyer that was changed to being the T18 HMC, a tier 3 American self-propelled gun, an update 912, and that was in November 2015. However, this vehicle had a blooming good old run. It had about 3 or 4 years where it was just one of the most filthy seal clubbers in the game. Yeah, because it did a lot of that with its 75mm howitzer. This vehicle had 175 damage with 38mm of penetration, and it had a blooming good rate of fire as well, and its aim time wasn't exactly terrible, its accuracy not disastrous, and it had fantastic frontal armor. In fact, the frontal armor on this tank was pretty much godlike for tier 2. It had 50mm plate outside of the kind of the gun shield that you see here, and anything that would hit this part of the tank would pretty much auto ricochet off. And even the side armor of this vehicle wasn't too bad, and as you can see, it also had a pretty nice wide gun arc. So as I mentioned, from when this vehicle went into the game right up until it was removed, it was a seal clubber extraordinaire, and today's resident seal clubber is going to be Diver ZG, or Divers G. I don't really know. Why do people even put Z's and G's at the end of the game? Probably means something that I'm completely ignorant about. Well, talking about T18s, it looks like Diver is about to try and shoot at the enemy T18. His first shell is a high explosive round, hitting the gun shield there for 45 damage, but now he's going to loop a heat round. Did that one go over that balcony? Or did it go through the window? Oh my lord, that's absolutely filthy. Either way, because of the fact that the shell arc on this 75mm is so crazy, you're quite often hitting the tops of the enemy vehicle, which made it so that those high explosive rounds were even more devastating. And if you want to load the gold and fire those high explosive anti-tank rounds as well, well, they were great in addition to that. So immediately we see the Diver has picked up 3 kills. Will he manage to shut down this V-Type B? Come on. There you go. There's his 4th. Just makes it look so easy in this tank. And that's because, frankly, it was. You know, I've never featured this tank on the channel. It was almost out of a matter of principle because it was just a disgusting tank, and I don't know, it's just not impressive to be hoovering up kills in this tank. I played this tank once. I bought it. I got 8 kills, and then I went, this is just absolutely filthy, and never played it again. And it took Wargaming off with his head, I guess, 158 damage. Was that a heat round, or was that a high explosive round? I'll have to rewatch and check out there. Oh, 62 damage to the side of the turret there. Will he be able to finish him off? Not quite. But yeah, Wargaming took absolutely ages to end up nerfing this tank, but they did. It had one nerf in update 9.3, and I should mention that this replay from Divers was from 9.4, and this replay happened on the 20th of November 2014, so it is over 3 years old now. So you're seeing the nerfed version of this tank. How absolutely crazy is that? And that's because in 9.3 on the 25th of September 2014, the T18 lost some traverse speed when it's turning. It went from 30 to 22, so it took it a little bit longer to be able to turn round to one-shot everything. Its reverse speed was nerfed to 6. Oh, look at it just one-shotting absolutely everything. Oh man, what did I just do? Did I press the rewind key? Oh dear. Oh well, we'll have to go with it anyway, guys. Sorry. I think that kill was so good that we're just going to have to watch it again, right? Okay. Yep, Groundhog Day. Kablamo, we know what's going to happen. Goodbye, T7 car. You don't see too many of those going around anymore. That's one of the reward vehicles, so to say, or the Christmas gifts that Wargaming gave out to us. But as I was saying, they nerfed the reverse speed of this tank just a little bit from 8 till 6. And this is where we're going to see the frontal armor on this tank, just absorbing shells left, right, and center. Now we're bouncing loads of shells from a tank that we can't even see. Lock the T18 in place. A heat round here, expensive premium rounds. Oh, through the upper plate there as it loops down on top of it. Another heat round, swing and a miss. Surely the high explosive round will be able to finish off the remainder of 14 hit points. There you go. Shutting it down there. And its rate of fire was nerfed a little bit. Its rate of fire went from having a 12.5 second reload down to 11.54 second. But when you've got things like vents on this tank and you had decent crew skills, you'll be pushing that even lower still. They nerfed the dispersion as well. They nerfed the dispersion on both guns, to be exact, and the hit points by 5. Oh, what do you think that was going to do, Wargaming? Okay, well, I guess every little helps, right? When you're trying to prevent something from being the seal clubber extraordinaire that the T18 was. Divers is just making this look absolutely easy right now. Yeah, I guess it's because it is. 8 kills on Malinovka. When you've got, you know, your binocular setup. Actually, it doesn't look like he's using binoculars on this map. Absolutely bizarre that. I would definitely be taking binoculars on this tank because one of its biggest weaknesses was that its view range was absolutely abysmal. And so that's really about it for the T18. Just this absolute demonic little force that just devoured everything that would drive out in front of it. Now, how would you be able to take one of these out? Well, obviously, fairly low hit points for Tier 2, doesn't take prolonged high explosive fire very well, and if you do manage to hit that lower plate, you had a good chance of knocking it down, and if you manage to get the side or the rear of the tank, just look how weird it looks. You can see why Wargaming decided to not make it a tank destroyer anymore and put it in as a Tier 3 self-propelled gun. I haven't actually tried this vehicle out, as it's been a Tier 3 self-propelled gun. I'm not sure if I've ever played it, as a matter of fact, as a Tier 3 self-propelled gun. Might have to give it a go and see if it's anything like it used to be. Although, when we think about it, this 50mm of armor that the tank had was truly special at Tier 2, right? 50mm of armor at Tier 2. I'm sure 50mm at Tier 3 these days wouldn't be quite so good, although Tier 3 gets preferential matchmaking now, right? I don't think Tier 3 tanks ever have to play against Tier 5, so at least that's a little bit of a boost for it. But self-propelled guns, right? Well, we'll have to see how it works out. I'll have to give it a go. Alright, so 9 kills here, and it looks like the enemy have decided to trundle towards the cap circle. Well, a swing and a miss there, just high and right. Next shell. Well, 76 damage to one of the most heavily armored tanks in the game at Tier 2, the Hotchkiss. He's just doing 66, and he's bouncing all of the shells that he receives as well. And that's just why this tank was so crazy overpowered. It's this combination of a very dangerous derp gun, decent mobility. Look at what this top speed limit was on this tank. Or did I mention this vehicle gets a very nice power to weight ratio as well? And apart from unless you needed to go backwards when Wargaming nerfed it, you were very mobile indeed, just chewing up absolutely everything. And unless the artillery was able to catch you, well, I mean, there was almost no hope for the enemy team if you had a skilled and also, I guess, sometimes patient T18 player. Man, these kind of tanks, looking back on it, it makes you realize that when people think about the good old golden age of World of Tanks, that was it really the good old golden age? Well, you know what, there were some aspects about the game back then that were a hell of a lot more fun than there was now. But, you know, that's going to be with everything in life. You have those kind of, oh, in my days things used to be better. You always remember when things were fresh and exciting at the beginning. You remember them more fondly. And I guess maybe some of the newer players out there, some of you who haven't been watching my content since this replay was actually played out all those years ago, over 3 years ago now, you find it's hard to say. Obviously for me personally, World of Tanks is not quite as exciting now as it used to be, because that thrill of picking up a new vehicle, you've been there, you've done that, and now it's just a case of, oh, how does this tank differ from the other 300-400 tanks that I've played in the game? But for all of you new players out there, I hope the game's exciting, right? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. It's hard to say. Is there more of an influence of premium rounds in the game now than there used to be? Although it doesn't seem to be like it's slowing down Divers from cutting his way through the enemy team with his heat rounds, especially against those poor few tanks at the beginning. So Malinovka at low tiers, especially when you're not using binoculars, I think that's a very dubious choice for Divers here. I have no idea why he's not using binoculars. Maybe he wasn't able to afford them yet. Maybe this is one of the first few games he played of his tank. Or maybe he was using coated optics instead. Although, when your base view range in this vehicle is 240, I don't think coated optics are quite going to cut it. So he misses the FTAC, and now he can't actually see him, because the FTAC, I guess... Whoa! Well, I guess he doesn't need to see him as he finishes off the little French tank destroyer, picking up the 13th kill, ladies and gentlemen. There's only 2 more needed to be able to wipe out the entirety of the enemy team. Will Divers be able to do that? Or we're just going to have to find out. Just the fact that this tank is absorbing so much punishment, we'll have to see exactly how much in the post-game stats. Will it get a steel wall medal? Well, I think that would be a definite challenge at tier 2, because you have to bounce at least 1,000 damage. That's going to be 8 times the hit points of his vehicle. Wow. Steel wall, we're going to have to find out. I don't think he's been hit quite enough for a steel wall. Nevertheless, there we go. There's the Crusader 1. Come on, get that 14th kill. Do you get a Rezanai Heroes medal at tier 2? Gonna have to find that out as well. I wonder if it counts at tier 4 plus like the Pools medal. The Cruiser 1 just stood absolutely no chance, with divers just dipping in 1 shell almost instantly. Let's speed up the replay at the end here. I guess the Cruiser 3's on 4 kills. Maybe he's going to be the one that gives divers his demise at the end of the game. There's the Cruiser 3. Now divers in his message that he wrote on the WOT Replays website for this game, he says that at the end he is suffering from some serious adrenaline rush. As he puts it, his hands were shaking, and that means that his accuracy at the end of the game is going to be absolutely abysmal as he just tries to get that 15th kill. His reticle is all over the place. He might as well be using a trackpad at the end of the game here, but it doesn't matter because the Cruiser is unable to penetrate him. And there you go, wiping out the entirety of the enemy team single-handedly. And I would say that that's impressive, but come on, he's playing one of the most overpowered tanks tier for tier in the game, so much so that it was removed from being a tank destroyer at least, and moved into being a higher tiered self-propelled gun. So Diver nails an ace tanker here with a whopping 1,573 base experience at tier 2, and his 15 kills gets him the Rezanai Heroes medal. I thought that maybe you'd have to be shooting tanks that are higher tier, but it doesn't look like it. One of the rarest medals in the game that I don't think many people can boast that they have achieved. He also gets a Naiden's medal for destroying all of the elite tanks on the enemy team, which is a tricky one at low tier because there's a lot more lights, but considering he killed the entirety of the enemy team, well, it goes without saying. A cool-headed medal for surviving at least 10 ricochets in a row, defender for protecting his cap circle, and a high caliber for the 1,573 damage that he dealt. And while this wasn't quite a steel wall for the T18, 21 hits received and 418 damage blocked, pretty much enough to kill this tank 4 times over, you can see why this tank pretty much had it all. And even without a premium account, Diver was still able to pretty much break even though he fired a few premium rounds. And so, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it, a trip down memory lane looking at a seal clubber of mythic proportions. And while this tank destroyer technically wasn't removed from the game, it was just bumped up a tier and turned into a self-propelled gun, at least in its seal clubber form, to all intents and purposes, it was. And so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down and let me know why. And also let me know if you have fond memories seal clubbing in the T18, or if it brings back some nightmares of being a new player and being smashed by this completely overpowered vehicle. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.